Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, though there's a vast distance in time and space between the crime and this present-day trial, brought before the People's Court, we begin this case with unabated determination, as we do every night on Good Friday, in the courtroom of every modern man's mind. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The court is now in session.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, on the night of April the 8th, on a quiet garden on the hillside, a crime was committed. The first part of the night passed peacefully. Nothing revealed that the crime had already taken shape in the mind of a man. Only when the stars faded away did the gardener, the defendant in this action, leave his garden cottage to embark on such a strange errand. In a nearby stable he went to untie a mule. He led it up the hill and harnessed it to the wheel of a water pump. Leaving the beast to its chore of emptying that canal, he then proceeded along that hill until he reached the upper end of the garden, where the rocks of the hillside blocked his way. This was the place, ladies and gentlemen, shrouded by mist and darkness. That gardener, oh, he got to work. He dislodged that great stone set firmly in place in the soil. He entered the tomb behind it and removed the body of a Jewish teacher called Jesus of Nazareth. Leaving this tomb with this great burden, he returned back to the now drained canal, and in the bed, he dug a hole. He buried the body inside of it and leveled the soil over it. And when that sun rose again on that first day of the week, that tomb was empty. But now who rolled away that stone? Was it an angel from heaven? Oh no, ladies and gentlemen. It was the gardener. He and no one else. Therefore, the state accuses the defendant, Jehuda Jacobson, of snatching the body of Jesus of Nazareth on the night of April the 8th, burying it in an unmarked grave, and by maliciously perpetrating the greatest fraud of mankind.
Your Honor, the defense does not wish to make an opening statement at this time. Proceed with the evidence.
Private Sextus Lucius. Please take the stand. Private Lucius, do you remember the night of April the 8th?
Yes, sir.
What were you doing?
I was on guard duty before 2 in a garden.
At what time did your guard begin?
Midnight.
And at that time, was the stone over the tomb still in place?
Yes, sir.
Did you know who the dead man was?
Objection. The charge is body snatching. The identity of the dead man is irrelevant.
Your Honor, in this case, the identity is the motivation itself.
Only evidence produced at this trial is to be considered. Please continue.
Well, Private Lucius, do you know who that man was?
Yes, sir. He was one of the men that were put on the cross. The middle one, I guess.
Is that all you remember about him?
He was a skinny man.
A man. Nothing but a man.
Objection. Sustained.
Was he any different from the others?
They all looked alike to me on the cross.
Had you ever met him before?
Once, at the governor's court, where he was sentenced.
Do you know why he was sentenced?
No, it didn't interest me. Made no sense. Some shouting and screaming, something demonstration. The mob had an aim for him.
I see. Well, Private Lucius, let's go back to what actually happened during your walk on.
I stood there, hating every minute of it. Why was I here? Strange country, strange grave. What business of it was it mine? I was
Go ahead, soldier. Speak up.
scared.
Scared, ladies and gentlemen. The gardener was scared.
I'm not afraid of anything living.
Well, surely you're not afraid of a dead man.
No. I've seen quite a few. Some I've shot myself, but I haven't had to stand watch over their grave at midnight. That gave me the creeps. I was plenty glad when I heard the footsteps.
Footsteps? Whose were they?
The gardeners.
The gardeners, ladies and gentlemen. Do you see him in this room right now?
Yes, sir.
Point him out.
There he is.
What did the gardener want?
He brought me a pitcher full of wine. Said it would take away the chill. It did.
What happened then?
I fell asleep.
Fell asleep. On guard duty. What, do you suppose the wine was drugged?
Objection sustained.
How long after drinking the wine did you fall asleep?
Not too long after.
And when you awoke?
It was just before rise. I heard a rumble, jumped up and saw the tomb open.
And what did you do then?
I took off to report the body was stolen.
Thank you.
You testified, Private Lucius, that the wine warmed you up.
Yes, ma'am.
Was it strong wine?
Sure was.
When you awoke, the stone was already rolled away.
Yes, ma'am.
Was the gardener around?
No, ma'am.
Did you make sure the tomb was empty?
I poked my head in.
Wasn't it dark inside?
It was pitch black.
Then there might have been someone in there.
I did see something white.
A man in a white robe.
At first, that's what I thought. But it was just napkin and sheets.
Oh, the burial cloths. Describe them to us. Were they rumpled?
No, ma'am. The napkin was rolled up and the sheets was folded.
Would a grave robber take time to do this?
I wouldn't know what a grave robber would do. I was asleep.
If you were asleep, how could you know that the body was stolen?
Didn't walk away.
That isn't for you to decide.
Dead men don't walk.
The state will wait to be recognized here.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
About your report, Private Lucius, exactly what did you say? Try to repeat it, word for word.
I don't remember exactly. All I said was the disciples stole the body.
Disciples? Who put that word in your mouth?
Objection! Counsel is implying that the witness was coached.
Your Honor, the witness is a simple soldier from a foreign country. His testimony proves complete ignorance of the happenings around him. He saw Jesus before Pilate. He saw him on the cross and had not the slightest idea on what it was all about. Now suddenly he speaks of disciples, a word obviously not his own, and the state is using this man as an important witness.
The value of the testimony will be determined by the jury. Objection sustained.
To get back to your report, Private Lucius, to whom did you make it?
The high priest.
Is he your superior officer?
No, ma'am.
A soldier is required to report directly to his superior in command. Who made it worth your while to make your report to the high priest?
Objection!
Sustained.
What is the penalty for a soldier who falls asleep on guard duty?
Death.
Apparently, you were not penalized. Who interceded on your behalf?
I don't know, ma'am.
Thank you. That will be all.
Mr. Joseph of Arimathea. Please take the stand. Mr. Arimathea,
It is testified that you are an attorney of law and a member of Senate.
I'm also an investment broker.
You appear to have various interests.
It's written in the scriptures that as well as studying the law, a man should have a trade.
And excellent connections.
My friend,
And helpful. Governor Pontius Pilate released the body of Jesus of Nazareth to you.
after he died on the cross, I asked if I could make the final arrangements.
He was taken down after a very short amount of time. Did he really die on that cross?
The charge is body snatching that assumes the existence of a dead body. Does the prosecutor question the validity of his own indictment? Or is he just using this trial to discredit what we know to be the truth? That Jesus has risen.
If the council doubts the validity of this indictment, why doesn't she move for a motion to dismiss? Or is she using the charge to substantiate what we already know to be a hoax of resurrection?
Both parties will refrain from exchanging personal opinions and recriminations. The jury will disregard any statements made by opposing counsel regarding each other's motives.
Withdraw the question, Your Honor.
Why did you claim the body from Jesus of Nazareth?
For purely personal reasons.
Did somebody help you in this request?
Yes.
Who was it?
I'd rather not involve anyone else.
Oh no, I must insist. Was it a lady?
It was.
Was it a high-ranking lady?
I don't know any other kind.
Was it the wife of Governor Pontius Pilate?
I must say so, yes.
Why did you ask for her help?
I was aware of her feelings towards Jesus, and I knew she would help.
Are you a follower of Jesus of Nazareth?
That's not an easy question to answer.
It's either a yes or a no.
Sir, I'm a senator. I have to carefully consider every statement I make.
But you must know where you stand.
As a member of the investing committee, it is my job to scrutinize every political and spiritual and religious movement in Jerusalem. That's how I became aware of Jesus, became attracted to his teaching.
What did you find so attractive about him?
Well, first it was his stand on taxes. He said that a man can serve God and still pay taxes to Caesar. I thought that was a very sensible solution. The only way for a Jew to survive under Roman law.
So then you considered him from a financial point of view.
Only before I met him. After that, it was the man himself who intrigued me. His strange charm.
Charm?
Oh, I know, it's an unusual word, but he was charming. So much so that many people gave up their businesses to follow him.
So then what businesses did you give up, Senator?
I'm not an impulsive man. But he troubled me. He made me think on many things.
How did you meet him?
It was at the house of a mutual friend. At first, I considered him very provincial. He used very agricultural terms. Wheat, grapes, bread, wine. Then it dawned on me. That's what truth is. Basic, simple, clean. Just like bread and wine.
So then what were your reasons for claiming the body?
He gave me the words of life. I gave him a shroud and a tomb.
In your garden, where you have complete control over his body.
Control?
Or you can move it at your own free will.
Yeah, if I
The
chose.
perfect place to stage a miracle, ladies and gentlemen.
Objection. Sustained.
You knew that the body would be moved even before burying it.
Yes, sir.
And you gave that gardener the orders to dig the grave.
I did.
Thank you for your time. Your witness.
Thank you. You are a wealthy man, Senator Arabia.
God has blessed me, especially in the area of import-export.
I understand you have large real estate holdings.
Objection. It's immaterial.
What purpose has the defense in asking these types of questions?
To counter your honor, the inference that Senator Arabia would in any way involve himself in a crime and entire state. He's a citizen of standing and integrity. He's a rich man, and rich men are afraid of changes. It would be against his whole background and tradition to fake a miracle bound to change the destiny of the world.
In principle, the court will allow questions on character and background. Please proceed.
Are you friendly with Governor Pilate, Senator?
We're on fairly intimate terms.
Did he release the body to you readily?
He made no objections.
Was it because he had confidence in you?
I believe so, yes.
Why did you plan to move the body from the tomb?
The tomb was a temporary storing place until after the Sabbath.
Was the tomb guarded at all times?
Night and day,
And the stone before the entrance, was it a heavy one?
which Stevie Lear.
Could it be moved by human power?
Objection. If the stone was put there by human power, it can be moved by human power.
Objection sustained.
Senator Aramathea, did you roll away the stone?
No, ma'am.
Did you hire anyone to roll it away?
No.
Did you have anything whatsoever to do with the disappearance of the body from the tomb?
No!
Ma'am.
Thank you, Senator. That's all.
Lady Procula Claudia.
He said, "Stand." You are the wife of Governor Pontius Pilate, correct?
I am.
And as his wife, do you have words in matters of administration?
Not as well. My duties are mostly social and extremely tiring. I've been about our time between Caesarea and Jerusalem. We have 2 households, 2 sets of friends, double the chance to make enemies, if you know what I mean.
You have all my sympathies.
My position is extremely delicate. We are conquerors, and people are sensitive.
I see. So as I understand it, you keep yourself remote from actual political events.
As far as possible.
But you did interfere with the case of Jesus of Nazareth.
Yes, I liked the man.
When did you meet him?
My husband was away, and I was invited for a weekend. It was a ranch up in Bethany, close to Jerusalem. We were just about to break up when he dropped in.
Oh, and you stayed behind?
We all did. He came with an interesting assortment of people, mostly fishermen, colourful characters. And he was, I'd say, fascinating to listen to. So different. I couldn't classify him. He was far from the athletic type, so overrated by Roman women. And yet he wasn't the sophisticated type of man that makes life so dull and disappointing. He wasn't smooth like a Greek, but he wasn't clumsy like a barbarian. I wouldn't call him aristocratic, but he definitely wasn't common. He had this humbleness about him, and the most magnificent eyes. He must have been a wonderful physician.
Physician?
And that's what I heard he was. He had healed so many people on his travels.
Did you ever meet him again?
Never. But I thought of him a lot. I even dreamt about him. Isn't that odd? The very day after my dream, he was arrested.
You tried to save him?
I did everything. It was just one of those ghastly situations where nothing could be done. My husband was in a terrible situation. All I could do was turn to Rufio.
Wait, who's Rufio now?
The captain who escorted Jesus to the cross. I gave him a bottle of wine to give to Jesus. It was very strong wine. I hoped that he would take it and it would help to dull his pain. But he refused the wine. What a magnificent spirit.
Wait, was this the same captain who was in charge of the guard before the tomb?
I believe so.
Did you, by any chance, I don't know, suggest that the sentries look the other way when the disciples came to steal the body?
Did they? Did they really come for the body? It was such a comfort to believe that he had risen from the dead. I truly believed he couldn't be gone for
You can't be serious, Lady Procula.
And why not? This wouldn't be the first time that such a thing has happened. Didn't Orpheus come back from Hades with the help of a faithful
Let's
saint?
not bring back old love stories, Lady Procula. I'm done asking my questions. I think the council might have a few.
Your testimony, Lady Procula, revealed a quality of faith. You mean I am prejudiced? I was driven to it by sheer boredom. Palestine is such a dull place. There's no theatres, no concerts, only minor league sports. So, in desperation, I began to think. But I soon stopped. May I ask why? I was in danger of becoming profound. Death frightened me. So I just satisfied myself with a glimpse into the infinite. Then you admit you was infinite.
Objection!
Sustained.
Lady Procula, as the wife of the governor, you had an inside view of all these events. I did. Had you any knowledge of a conspiracy to steal
Governor Pontius Pilate. Please take the stand. Governor Pilate, you are the governor of today, correct?
Unfortunately, I have the privilege of serving Rome in the most troublesome spot in the Commonwealth.
Troublesome? Do you refer to the case in which you're trying here?
The Nazarene. Oh no, he was only one incident amongst the various annoyances in my administration.
Please tell this jury about this incident then.
Well, as much as I can recall, it was the first day of the Passover, and a man was delivered to me by the local government. They requested a sentence of death, but I regarded the whole thing with utmost suspicion.
Did you have a special reason for that?
No, it was part of a general suspicion. You see, from the moment I took office, I constantly had the feeling of being outsmarted.
By whom?
A guard, the Jewish guard.
Explain that now.
Well, we've seen many guards from many countries that are controlled by Rome, guards of gold or ivory or jade, some with pot bellies and even 2 heads. We've seen divine bulls, sacred cows, and holy cats. But all these guards were visible. You could liquidate them if they did not cooperate. The Jewish guard was different. It was invisible. You cannot liquidate the invisible.
So then in what way did this influence your attitude towards Jesus of Nazareth?
Ah, that is my very reason for my interest in him. The visible son of an invisible God. At least now there's something I can take hold of. With his son in my power, we can now force the Jewish God to make a deal with the Romans.
But you soon discovered that he wasn't the Son of God.
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you ever discover who he was?
Well, it was never quite clear to me. King, a carpenter, a prophet, or just a Jew with another proposition.
After his death, did you order the watch over his tomb?
I did.
Is it an established custom to post a watch over the bodies of executed men?
No, it was not. I'm afraid I created a procedure.
Why did you do that?
Well, I acceded to a request by the high priest. He called upon me personally, and he stressed his concerns that the disciples would steal the body of their master. And he produced some evidence from his secret service. The Nazarene had made a statement that he would rise on the 3rd day, and his disciples would not want to make a fool out of him. We had the creation of a legend.
Are you afraid of legends?
Well, the city was restless. This kind of legend was dangerous. It promised the masses intervention from a greater power and produced created doubts as to where the real authority lay.
So I'm assuming you had to post the guard over the tomb to stop the legend from being made.
It's quite
In anticipation of someone coming to rob that grave.
well. If they could steal the statue of Caesar, they would certainly not stop at the body of a Jew.
No. No, they would not.
Objection. Sustained.
I'm done.
Good. About the alleged conspiracy, Your Excellency, did you order an investigation of your own?
No, I consider this an internal affair.
Then you relied upon information supplied to you by a prejudiced party. I might say, a very prejudiced party.
Well, it was our policy to give the local authorities the widest possible latitude.
Without taking pains to establish the truth.
Well, in my long years in public service, I became somewhat skeptical about the truth. I found truth to be a question of geography. In one place they'll put you on a pedestal, and in another, the gallows.
You put him on the gallows.
Yes, the time demanded it. It came when truth was out of season.
So you simply accepted it as fact that someone had stolen the body.
Yes, it was common sense. My seal on that tube was broken.
Maybe it was Jesus who broke it.
Can't ask a Roman to believe that.
But you do believe in some God.
Well, I'm still searching for one. There is a great shortage of gods. You have to use substitutes, philosophy, synthetic gods. These, however, do not last very long. A god should last forever.
How very true.
So the Jews would share with us the secret of their God. Then we Romans could develop into perfection. After all, that is our greatness, improving on original ideas.
You sound cynical, Pilate, but you are not. You show definite signs of sympathy towards Jesus of Nazareth.
Well, I could find no crime in this man. In fact, I wanted to use him.
For what purpose?
Well, you see, I heard that he could cure an aching back simply with a touch of his hand. But unfortunately, the Nazarene made some statements which could be considered as a challenge to the omnipotence of Rome. And that settled it. I couldn't save him. It wasn't personal, it's strictly politics.
Is that an apology?
Indeed it is. Politics, serving the highest principles with the lowest possible methods. I heard the high priest had threatened to report him to Rome as a menace to the lifeline of the empire. My position was therefore endangered.
Therefore, you sentenced him to death.
But it was the quickest way to put an end to this unpleasant episode.
Very far-sighted statesmanship.
But in proportion to everything else, he was not that important. Just another Jew. One more or one less, I thought, would hardly make any difference.
This one made all the difference in the world. Thank you. No more questions.
Mr. Saul of Tarsus. Please take a stand. Mr. Tarsus, during that particular Passover, were you in Jerusalem then?
Yes, sir, I was.
Are you a permanent resident?
No, sir, I never settled down.
But you did spend many years there
I worked my way through college.
as a salesman.
Originally, I was a tent maker. I was born in Tarsus of Cilicia. That's goat country, you know. They make the finest tents there.
Tarsus, that's a Greek city, right?
I'm a Jew.
But you have a Roman passport.
It's the only way to travel. And I have traveled a great deal.
What is your business?
I am a deputy to the Great Council of Jerusalem, in charge of inter-Jewish relations. That's control over the Jewish communities spread throughout Syria and Asia Minor. Far from the holy city, they took liberties with the law. I had to bring them back to orthodoxy, restore strict dogma.
So then during your mission, did you come across the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth?
Oh yes, I recognized the names of them straight away. I did a thorough study of the subject, and I traced it back to the very source, the empty tomb.
So you are familiar with this case on trial.
I know the facts.
Tell the jury they should know.
The whole thing is a fake. A plot of clumsy Galilean fishermen.
But Mr. Tarsus, aren't you a Pharisee?
I am.
And don't Pharisees believe in the resurrection of the dead?
We do.
And still, you don't believe that Jesus has risen.
The dead will rise again when the Messiah comes, and only then, at the end of time. You couldn't have risen.
What do you base this knowledge on?
Scripture and testimony.
Aren't they one and the same?
Not quite. Bible is testimony, testimony is not Bible.
Did you major in Bible study?
I studied under the greatest masters. I can recognize a false prophet when I see one.
Was Jesus a false prophet?
I object, Your Honour. The witness is here to give evidence of fact, and not a conclusion of his own.
Your Honor, Mr. Tarsus is an expert witness.
The state must challenge the contention that a body simply got up one Sunday morning and strolled its way out of the tomb. The state will prove that Jesus was not endowed with such powers for such a performance, and we are making use of Mr. Tarsus' expert knowledge in
The witness has been qualified. Objection overruled. The witness may answer.
The Nazarene was a false prophet. I can prove it through Scripture. As a matter of fact, I am on a lecture tour of that subject. When the court excuses me, I leave for Damascus.
Damascus.
That's my next stop.
And what will he tell Damascus?
What I tell every village in Hamilton. He was a deceiver. He must be destroyed.
By throwing stones at his disciples.
Counsel for the defense is out of order.
I apologize, Your Honour.
I wish the council would be entirely satisfied. Did you stone Stephen, Mr. Tarsus?
I never touched a stone. I fought with words. Well, these words put stones in people's hands. They killed Stephen and taught me a great lesson. For the first time, I saw the power of the word. It could move stones, could move mountains. It could move mountains, it could move the world. More than that, it could create the world.
And what with the powers of the word, do you testify that Jesus has not risen?
I do.
Thank you. Your witness.
Mr. Saul of Tarsus, you just testified that the word can do everything.
That is correct.
Well then, why cannot the word open a tomb?
It can open a tomb. It will open a tomb when Christ comes. Jesus was not the Christ.
A strong statement.
I have strong beliefs.
You intend to destroy Jesus.
I will.
You persecute his disciples.
I do.
You want to exterminate them to the last one.
I hope to.
By any means, even by false testimony.
I object! False testimony?
Objection sustained. Counsel will be careful not to prejudice this witness in front of the jury. If he has any evidence to support his claims, he should be allowed to bring it forward by direct testimony.
I withdraw the question, Your Honor. What proof do you have, Mr. Tarsus, that he is not the Messiah?
This very argument. When the real Messiah comes, there will be no argument. No doubt, no misgiving. He will appear with terrifying simplicity. Knowledge and faith will be the same. Everyone will believe. The wise and the fool.
Which are you, Saul of Tarsus?
Neither. Or both. God makes me what I am. Israel. Changing by his promise, reading under the weight of his love.
Jesus came to ease your burden. Why did you refuse his help?
We cannot accept help. We can't take the easy road. We can't even help ourselves by calling on the name of the Holy. The word can never be spoken. We guard it in eternal silence. We guard it with sealed lips. We guard it with a letter. We write it down, we never read it. We guard it with a law. Relentless. Fine. Comma cannot be changed. But he came from Nazareth.
He might have changed some comments, but he didn't break the law.
He did worse. He relaxed it. By breaking the law, a Jew can only die. By relaxing it, he might become a Christian.
And that's why you crucified him.
I expected this accusation. I'll answer it with your own creed. If he was the Christ that you claim him to be, your teachings say that he had to be crucified. Not by the Jew, not by the Roman, but by the will of his Father. We simply would assist at his inauguration.
I don't like that expression.
I am a man of public relations. I know exactly what expressions you like. According to your teachings, Calvary was the inauguration into heavenly glory. We had to assist, against our will, confirming the very thing we demand. We were nothing but a weapon chosen by the Father to kill his own Son. The weapon cannot be guilty. The tool cannot be blamed. It's a tragic responsibility to be the chosen one, and we should be respected for it, if your gospel is true. Well, I'm not merely a witness on the cross-examination. I'm not a witness for the state or a witness for the defense. I'm a Jew. I'm a witness of God.
I have no more questions. I believe you have an appointment in Damascus.
The court is adjourned until tomorrow. As the state, any other witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Eula Adams. Please take a step. that?
At Damascus Gate, to hang out for Roman soldiers.
I suppose you know many of them.
Quite a few.
By name?
Well, no. Most of them by the shoulder patches.
So, do you remember the night that Jesus was crucified?
Yes, Mr. Prosecutor. It was a Friday. I remember it was my day off. Just my luck.
What do you mean by that?
I had a date with Sultan. But that night he was on to God with you.
He didn't keep his date with you?
No, sir. But I went out to him. I got in the garden, all right. But they wouldn't let me near him. No one could approach the tomb. So I just stood there for a while and waited.
All by yourself?
There were other visitors too. Some women waiting under the trees.
How many would you say there were?
I'm not sure. 5 or 6. They kept in the shadows.
Could you describe them to us?
I remember only one. She stood up from the others. She had big eyes and beautiful red hair.
Red hair, did you say?
Yes, sir. I thought perhaps I just saw her too, but she hadn't. She looked sad. Just stood there staring at the tomb. Never taking her eyes away for a minute.
How long did this keep up? Could you make out what she was saying?
Not really, but I only heard this tomb was so heavy they need help to move it.
To move it?
Yes, sir.
This didn't strike you as somewhat strange?
I didn't think about it then, but I remember 3 days later the body was stolen.
When did you find out that this body was stolen, and how?
When the soldiers came to the Three Cedars, I heard them talking. They were having a high old time drinking and gambling. They played dice.
For big stakes?
Very big. The money was piled up on the table. I got quite excited.
Why? It's not your money.
No, but I was going to like the winner.
Oh? Almost said, is it usual for soldiers to have such large amounts of money?
Not as far as I know, Mr. Prosecutor. Their whole bills paid wouldn't be as much as I saw on the table.
Did they maybe drop any hints where this money came from?
When I asked them, they just winked. That's so I paid them for. Quick favor.
A quick favor, ladies and gentlemen. Do you suppose it was to look the other way when the disciples came to steal the body?
Objection!
Sustained.
I have no more questions.
Thank you.
Miss Adams.
The pleasure, Prosecutor.
The witness.
On second thoughts, Your Honour, I withdraw the objection. My opponent has brought up the question of bribery. So now I will call Miss Gill. You were one of the women who said that you had seen the soldiers stolen the money.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure there's someone.
Yes, there was. And Edith wanted to suppress the real fact that the body was stolen.
Objection.
Sustained.
No more questions.
Your Honor, the state rests.
Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honour. I move that the indictment charge be dismissed on the grounds that no proof has been offered.
And I object on the grounds that proof has conclusively been proven as to this man's guilt.
Objection sustained. Motion denied.
May it please the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. The state has delivered its charge. The attack was well calculated, vicious, sponsored by splendid behavior, but it wasn't a cross-eyed attack. The prosecutor, while fixing his glance on the gardener, kept his eyes constantly on Jesus. Every question was aimed at him. Every word carried the implication that he is the real defendant at this trial. It is a very clever attempt to disguise the weakness of the prosecution's case against the gardener. But by making Jesus his target, my opponent knows he can count on powerful assistance. The assistance of doubt, the weapons against faith. A brilliant advocate of reason, my opponent knows that he can count on his friends. But faith is here, ladies and gentlemen, here and presenting his case. A strange contradiction, faith giving evidence, throwing the immeasurable on the scales of justice. But I believe this scale is sensitive. I believe in the instrument of trial, and I believe in the 12. And this time, I don't mean the disciples, I mean the jury. To this jury, the defense will prove that the gardener, Johanna Jacobson, did not steal the body of Jesus of Nazareth on the night of April the 8th. It was Jesus himself who broke the bondage of death. It was life that burst open the tomb and hurled away the stone. It was the Master who walked on that morning, walked through an awakening spring on the first Sunday of May. Susanna of Cain. Please come and stand. Susanna, you are one of the women who followed Jesus from Galilee.
That's right, ma'am. I followed him to the very end.
Will you tell the jury what happened early in the morning on that first day of the week?
Some of us women had decided to meet at dawn. It was still dark when I joined them.
Who were
Mary Cleopas, Joanna, Salome, Mary Magdalene, and some others I don't know by name.
they? Did you all start out together?
That's right. We all headed toward the tomb. We walked silently. We were too afraid to talk.
Afraid? Why?
There was something we didn't dare speak of. Finally, Mary said it for us.
Mary Magdalene?
No, Mary Cleopas, an aunt of Jesus. She knew him since he was a baby. What a promising boy he was, she said. If only he had stuck to his father's trade. He would have been such a good carpenter, and he wouldn't have died so young either, and in such a disgrace, like a criminal between two thieves.
Oh, you think he would have done better as a carpenter? Then did you bury your faith in him?
All we had left was sorrow.
You gave up hope.
We all saw him die.
Still, you went to the tomb. Why? Was it to help the gardener steal the body?
No.
But a witness heard Mary Magdalene speak to the woman about moving the stone.
Yes, that's true. All we wanted to do was anoint the body with sweet spices after the Sabbath was over.
Then the only purpose of your morning visit was a last ministry?
Yes, ma'am.
Susanna, please tell the jury who you saw in the garden.
After we got there, the sun was just coming up. We hardly stepped foot into the grounds when Mary Magdalene shouted, "Look! The tomb is open! The stone is rolled away!" She tore herself from us and ran back toward the city to tell Peter and John what had happened.
Without waiting to find out what had happened.
Magdalene was always like that. Quick, nervous, excited. So we didn't try and stop her and just headed toward the tomb.
Did you see the gardener there?
No, ma'am, he wasn't around.
Did you call out for him?
We were going to when
Go on, when suddenly what?
we saw a man.
Who was it?
A young man, dressed in a white robe, a robe as white as snow,
What was he doing there?
sitting on the stone bench before the tomb. He appeared to be waiting for us.
Did you ask him what he wanted?
Oh, no, ma'am, we were much too frightened to talk.
Why?
Because he was an angel.
Is an angel so frightening?
His face was like lightning. We hardly dared look at him. We thought that something wonderful had happened and we bowed our faces to the ground.
Didn't you tell him why you had come?
Well, we couldn't speak at first. Then somehow we got ourselves together and we told him that we had come for the body of Jesus of Nazareth.
And what did the angel say to that?
He said, "Jesus is not here. He is risen."
Susanna, it is very important that you remember everything exactly as it happened. Please repeat to the jury, word for word, what the angel said.
He said, "Jesus is not here. He is risen."
Risen. That was the word. Are you sure?
Yes, ma'am, that was the word.
Thank you, Susanna. I have no more questions. Your witness.
Susanna, that's been quite an experience to have met an angel.
Oh, I'll never get over it, sir.
Tell us some more.
I've told everything.
No, Susanna, don't meet an angel every day. You. There's a detail or two that you've missed, and the jury should know exactly what you saw.
We just
And the angels told you that?
Yes, sir, they did.
How long did this keep up? How long did you stay in the tube for?
Not long. We all left after a while and headed back toward the city.
Did the angel go with you?
No, sir, they stayed behind.
Inside the tube?
Yes, sir.
Why? Were they guarding the place, perhaps?
I don't know.
Tell me, Susanna, had you ever met an angel before that day?
Never.
So this was the first time?
Yes, sir.
So how did you know that they were angels?
I just knew it. And they wore white robes.
White robes don't make them angels.
There was a light on their faces.
The light could have come from the sun.
It was a different sort of light.
So what you're telling us here is that you are the only one who made them out to be angels.
No, sir. No one can tell me any different. They were angels.
Susanna, I'm trying to help you here, okay? Did they introduce themselves, giving you their name and their rank? Hi, my name is Gabriel, Archangel of the Lord, or Michael, or Gabriel, or something.
No, sir. They didn't give us their names.
Susanna, if we could believe anything that you have told us here today, do you believe that you made someone in a white robe? Possibly this guy has accomplices who helped him steal that body. But Susanna, they weren't angels.
Objection. Sustained.
I'm done.
Good.
Miss Mary Magdalene. Please take a stand. Miss Magdalene, did you or did you not see angels in the tomb of Jesus?
I did.
The state is attempting to grave doubt in this regard. Are you positive it was angels you saw?
There was a radiance around them I couldn't possibly misunderstand.
Thank you. Now will you tell the jury exactly what happened on that first Sunday morning in the garden?
By the time I got back, the other women had left. You know I left them as soon as we arrived, at daybreak.
That has already been testified. You ran with the news to Peter and John, and then you all returned together.
Peter and John hurried ahead. I followed at a distance. They went straight into the tomb. I waited outside.
And what did you do?
I was crying, I think. Then, after a while, Peter and John came out of the tomb. They seemed to be in a daze. I asked them what had happened, but they didn't hear me.
They passed you by without answering?
Not a word. They left the garden as if walking in a dream. I was alone.
And when did you enter the tomb?
I looked into it.
Go on.
A shadow fell on me, on the grass, the shadow of a man. He stood behind me. I could feel his glance on my shoulders. Then he asked me in a low voice why I was crying.
Who was this then?
First, I thought it was the gardener. I turned to him and told him, "Sir, if you took the body of my Lord away, would you kindly tell me where it is laid?" He looked at me, smiled. "Mary," he said. "Master," I cried, and fell on my knees because it was Jesus.
The same Jesus who died 3 days before?
The same.
Not a shadow?
No.
Not a vision? Not a ghost?
Ghosts don't walk in daylight. It was broad daylight, a glorious spring morning. The garden was flooded with sunshine.
Then you saw him clearly. Him, Jesus alive.
Objection! His counsel giving evidence now.
I'm merely stating the facts given by the witness.
We will prove that this woman is nothing but someone with a brilliant imagination, unable to distinguish between her facts and her fantasies.
Objection overruled. Please proceed.
Mary Magdalene, you were the first to see the risen Jesus.
He was good and gracious to grant me this distinction. It was the Master's gentle answer.
Answer to what?
My love.
Your love must be great.
Before anyone else, he showed himself to me. He was so close I could have touched him.
And did you?
No, he asked me not to. But when I reached out my arms, I could feel the warmth of life, the warmth of a child just born.
Have you ever had a child, then?
No, I've never been married.
Where were you born?
Magdala in Galilee. That's how I got my name.
And how long did you live there for? you tell us something about those early years?
I'm afraid there isn't much to tell. I grew up like any other girl in Magdala, a small town among the hills of Galilee. My father was an elder of the synagogue and owner of the general store. His life was divided between God and the business. My mother was pregnant all her life. When I was 16, mother died trying to give father another son. I knew then that I would never live the life she had lived. But father had promised me to a blacksmith. I did not want the same life as my mother, so I ran away.
And where did you go?
I just followed the road to Jerusalem. I had heard it was crowded with interesting strangers, men from distant countries.
And did you meet them?
Yes, I did, and I learned so much. In a short time, I spoke Latin and Greek. I was free from my oppressed childhood, free from the tyranny of my father. I traveled extensively. I went to Alexandria and Egypt. I met poets, sculptors, philosophers. I learned how to wear clothes, read books, paint my nails. I had all the perfumes I ever wanted. Egypt was a land of love.
Did you find love in Egypt?
No, in order to find a great lover, you must have a great love to give, and I did not have it yet. By the time I returned to Jerusalem, I was very tired.
Why?
When a sin becomes a routine, it loses its charm. The art of lovemaking becomes dull without the final fulfillment. For the first time, I wanted a son. Please continue. But I was barren. Barren as the life I had lived. I had a breakdown when Herod found it amusing at one of his gay parties to chop the head off a prophet. I couldn't stop laughing and crying.
Was it very bad?
My friends gave me up. They thought I had gone insane. Some quack examined me and said I was possessed by 7 devils. But between the spells, I knew I wanted to return to Galilee, back to the hills from which I had run away.
And did you go back then?
Yes, I did. But the mountainside wasn't lonely anymore. A large crowd had gathered on the slope and a man was talking to them. His voice was low, but carried far. I stood among the others and listened. I knew I had found the great lover.
How could you tell? Could you get that close to him?
No, the crowd was too big. But I followed him from town to town. And then one evening when he was having dinner at a rich man's house, the moment came. I took a box of perfumes, my most precious ones, and entered the dining room.
Uninvited?
No one asked me, but I knew the master expected me. He wasn't surprised when he saw me. I kneeled down and poured all my perfume over his feet and dried it with my hair. I didn't have to say a word. He understood me and I understood him. All that had happened in my life had been for one purpose, to understand him. Then his voice came. I was forgiven.
And healed?
I was freed of my 7 devils. I never left the master's side. I walked with him through the country. When the end came, I walked with him to the cross. And on the morning he rose, I walked with him in the garden. He called me Mary as he had done so often before. He told me to meet him in Galilee.
He told you that?
He went ahead. I looked after him. For one more moment I could see him as he walked among the trees, and then there was only sunshine.
And what did you do then?
I ran towards the city. I went from house to house. Everyone, listen to me. Jesus is risen. Yes, risen. You must believe me. I saw him with my own eyes. Youthful and strong, standing over his grave. Don't be afraid. I bring good news. There is no death anymore. Death died early this Sunday morning. From now on, there is only life. Life everlasting.
The court orders a recess. allow any further delays. Please proceed with your next witness until she is ready to take the stand.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Yoda Jacobson, will you stand? Please take the stand. Tell us, Mr. Jacobson, when did you get up on the morning of April the 8th?
I got up very early, ma'am. It was still dark.
Did you go to work right away?
No, I said my morning prayers first.
Of course, you are a devout Jew.
I keep the commandments.
And never miss your morning prayer?
Never.
Would you mind if I asked you to recite them for us?
Objection! What is the relevance?
Your Honor, this God-fearing man is accused of a ghoulish crime. I call upon the words of his prayer to testify for him.
Objection overruled. Please proceed.
Please go ahead, Mr. Jacobson.
The psalm. May the heavens rejoice, the earth be glad, and the trees exult before the Lord.
And with these words in your heart, you went out and snatched a body?
No, ma'am.
Look at the jury, Mr. Jacobson, and tell them, did you steal the body of Jesus of Nazareth?
I did not.
Thank you. That's all.
Mr. Jacobson, a soldier testified that you brought him wine while he was watching the tomb and then he fell asleep.
Yes, sir.
Did you put a drug in that wine?
No, sir.
Why did you bring him wine?
It was a chilly night. He looked rather cold. I felt sorry for him.
Do you want us to believe it was out of pity? That you felt sorry for some stranger?
I live by the law, sir. You should love the neighbors within your gates.
Your godliness is very commendable, Mr. Jacobson. But you need to answer a few more profane questions. After your morning devotions, you took a shovel and you dug a grave. Did you not?
Yes, sir.
Why did you dig the grave?
I had orders to bury Jesus in a final resting place as soon as the Sabbath was over.
When did you finish digging the grave?
Just as it was getting light.
And when did you put the body in the grave?
I never put the body in the grave.
You didn't?
There was no body to bury. The body disappeared from the tomb.
So why did you dig a hole and then fill it up and in such a hurry?
Oh, I couldn't just leave a hole in the garden. I could have.
Did you have an order to dig the grave?
Yes, sir.
Why did you choose that specific spot? Or was that an order too?
I picked the spot myself. You see, I had freshly planted lawn, and I knew if word got out that Jesus was buried in our garden, people would come and visit. Silly people, and they would trample all over my lawn. Do you even know the work that goes into a lawn? So I thought that if Jesus was buried in a secret grave, some people wouldn't bother to visit. He would have peace and quiet. But more importantly, my grass would grow.
Very touching story, Mr. Jacobson. He's a smart man. Simple, God-fearing man. No more questions.
Your Honor, Mary Magdalene is ready for cross-examination.
Please proceed.
Your witness.
Take a stand.
Miss Magdalene, are you ready to answer my questions?
I am ready.
Excellent. Miss Magdalene, your life story was very touching. I mean, I followed it with utmost attention. But there was one or two details that you missed out. For example, your profession. You're a prostitute.
Don't be upset, madam. You have nothing to hide.
I am not.
You never slept with men for money?
Never.
But you did accept gifts.
Yes, I did.
What kind of gift? where there's something small like the furs and the jewels, or something a little bit more substantial like a villa with servants.
You don't leave anything to the imagination,
No.
do you?
I leave imagination to the defense. Its case is based upon it, but you are too important of a witness. The jury should know exactly what type of woman you are.
I've made mistakes. We all do. Why do you ask me all this? It has nothing to do with my testimony. My life is split in two parts, and I don't want to remember the first.
Well, whether you want to or not, you have to!
No, that woman is dead. Even alive, she was dead. It all happened before I met him.
No, before you developed a Jesus complex.
I object. The Jesus complex is derogatory to our faith.
Isn't your term rather a great name for an instinct? What is faith? A protest against death? A sedative for the rebellious human race?
The Post Council will kindly refrain from arguing over definitions. Objection overruled. Please proceed.
Withdraw the question, Your Honor. Miss Magdalene, were you ever confined to an insane asylum?
Never.
But you testified that you were possessed by 7 devils. Could that be anything but insanity?
Objection!
Your Honor, I am speaking as a translator. 7 devils are the witness's own words. I am translating into the colloquial.
Overruled. Please proceed.
Wow, Miss Magdalene, how would you describe the mental state you were in?
I don't know how to name it. I simply realized that nothing could make sense. I was frustrated and empty. I couldn't go on. I had a complete breakdown.
Brought on by a sense of guilt. You washed the feet of Jesus with your perfumes, your kindness perfumes, and then you dried them with your hair.
In supplication, it wasn't earthly love.
What was it?
It was the dead craving for life. He gave me new life.
And in return, you gave me new life. It was you who raised in that Easter morning your desire, your fantasy.
That is a lie, a deliberate lie.
You said that the barren woman couldn't deliver birth, so she delivered a dream for all of mankind to feast on, so that they could not be afraid of the dark.
It was no dream. I saw him in broad daylight.
Your eyes aren't capable of seeing reality, Magdalene. They can only project, and they projected Jesus in that garden.
He was real as the trees around him.
Was he? You said that you felt the presence of a man standing behind you. At first, you thought it was the gardener.
Only for a moment.
And that moment was enough for you to transform him into the risen Christ. Your desire, your love, your spirit, your fantasy, they all teamed up to make the gardener the risen Christ.
He was the master. However you twist it, no matter how much you want to, you can't take him back. No power on earth can seal that tomb again.
That remains to be seen. I want to do something, ladies and gentlemen. I want to do a little acting. May I ask the gardener to stand forward, please? Magdalene, how far were you from the man you thought to be Jesus?
4 or 5 steps.
Got ya?
Yes.
Great. Stand up. Excellent. I want you to turn your back towards us. I want to play this out exactly like Miss Magdalene testified. You were crying, weren't you? And then you felt the presence of a man behind you. His shadow fell upon the grass. Correct? Great. Mr. Jacobson, did you hear Miss Magdalene's testimony?
Yes, sir.
Great. Then you know your part. You see her crying, you ask her why she's crying, she tells you, you call her master just as I suppose Jesus did. Right?
Yes, sir.
Great. You go when I give the go-ahead. Go ahead.
my lord, would you kindly tell me where it is laid?
Mary.
Go ahead, Mary. Fall on your knees.
I won't fall on my knees because he is not the master.
Come on, try to see the same determination with which you saw him before the tomb.
Go away.
Look at his pale skin, the shadows under his eyes, his dark beard. This is the face of your Jesus. This is the face of thousands in Jerusalem, in the world. This is the face of man. Nothing but a man. Might as well fall down on your knees right now and call him your master.
Go away. Don't you hear me? Go away. You can't take from me what I saw. If you take Jesus away from me, you take away my life. You can't make me disbelieve my own eyes, to doubt the only truth I know. I know who you are. Go away, devil.
Imagination again, Miss Magdalene. I am no more the devil than he is your Christ. You're scared, and we can all see. Shake off this manifestation. Open your eyes. Admit your mistakes. Admit it was this garden that you met in that garden that morning.
He was not! Would I dare strike the image of the master? Is that proof enough? Would I strike my lord? Would I strike him? Strike him! Strike him! I won't stop until you will believe me!
I have no more questions. You're insane.
Thank you, Mary Magdalene, for this testimony.
I must apologize to the court and to you. Can you forgive me? I had to hear you look at the trial.
The witness is excused.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, since the state is dismissing the resurrection as a vision of an historical woman, I now call upon a witness who is not a woman and currently not historical, Mr. Simon Peter. Mr. Simon Peter, please take the stand. Mr. Simon Peter, did you meet the risen Jesus?
Yes, ma'am. We had supper with him on Sunday evening.
Are you positive that was Jesus?
I am positive.
Not a vision? Not an apparition?
No, ma'am. He sat at the table with the rest of the crew. We had fish, broiled fish, just as he likes it.
So he sat with you through the whole dinner?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it the only time you saw him?
No, he ate with us on a few more occasions. On one occasion, even Thomas stopped doubting. He touched the wounds.
Thomas touched Jesus?
Yes, ma'am. He proclaimed, "My Lord, my God."
How many appearances did he make among you?
Oh, he stayed with us in Galilee for quite a few weeks.
Please tell the jury about this meeting in Galilee.
Well, it was a perfect day for fishing. There was an easterly wind blowing, just a ripple on the water as we pushed the boats out. Just into shallow water there. Perfect for fishing. As we got to the spot, we lowered our nets and we waited. And then all of a sudden, there was just this calmness. The wind had stopped. The water was just like glass. There was nothing. Not a fish in sight. But we waited. And we waited. And then John could see that I was starting to get a bit impatient. And Thomas was already starting to doubt. And then all of a sudden, there was a sight. 1, 2, 3, 4, coming towards us. Then there was just this dark mass of fish, and it was throwing itself into the net like it was just meant to be. Some of them were this big. realized, you stupid old man, this isn't normal. Things like this don't just happen. This was a sign. It was a miracle. Then John called out, look, there, on the shore. There stood Jesus.
Jesus?
Yes, ma'am. That's how it happened.
Thank you, Peter. That's all. Your witness.
Peter. Really fishy story.
I beg your pardon. Are you insinuating that fishermen do not tell the truth? You had better take that back. If I tell you it was the Lord, what's wrong? You can get on your knees.
If he was the Lord, why did he show himself to garrulous fishermen and hysterical women? Why didn't he show himself to his enemies?
What? He did! He appeared before me! You spoke the truth, Peter. He is the Lord. He lives, he is risen, I saw him.
You saw him? You who wanted to destroy him and all of us?
I met him on the road to Damascus.
But aren't you Saul of Tarsus?
Saul of Tarsus is no more. I am Paul, come to confirm your words, Peter.
You are a Pharisee. You called us clumsy Galilean fishermen.
I did. Now I am a fish in your net, caught by Jesus, the Christ.
He made us fishers of men. You are a good catch, Paul of Tarsus. Speak up. Take my place.
Your Honor, I object.
Order in this court.
Saul of Tarsus is no longer with us.
Paul of Tarsus.
Whatever you call yourself, you have no right to address my cause.
I call him as my witness. Remain on the stand.
I have New Testament to give.
You already gave your testimony. Object, Your Honor.
Objection is overruled.
Accept.
The court rules the motion of the state to be denied. The witness may continue.
Tell us how you met the Lord.
It was high noon, and as I approached the gates of the city, the road was drenched in white sunlight. Stag, lean, like my head. My journey was nearing its end, and in the distance I could see the towers of Damascus. My arrival there would mean the end to the Christian community, and I was burning to carry out my task. Suddenly, I felt myself wavering. I was seized by a power that struck me to it. And as I looked up, into a light that blinded me, I saw Jesus.
The same Jesus you persecuted?
And he asked me why. His voice was low, gentle, yet it echoed from every direction of the room. Why? 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 Why persecute me? Why persecute anyone at all? And with all my proud craft, I couldn't answer that one humble question. I lay in the dust, defeated by the wind. I knew I had always loved him. Through his love, I was appointed.
What was your mission?
To testify. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, men and women of the world, Gentiles and Jews, rulers and slaves, Jesus lives.
Thank you.
Paul of Tarsus, please, take the stand.
You testified that you were stricken blind. How could you see the Lord?
He struck me blind that I should see only him. He sent me back into the darkness of the womb. Through him, I was born again.
And all this took place at noon. Did the sun stand high?
At At noon, the sun always stands high.
Is your head covered?
If you're saying it was a sun, I admit it. But who gave the sun its power? The Lord Jesus. He struck Saul to death and Paul was born.
But you testified that Jesus was a false prophet!
I changed my mind.
Oh, great opportunist.
Yes! I seized the opportunity to save the world by giving the old word new meaning. I'm carrying this word to the ends of the earth. Every village, every town, every country, every continent. I must reach all people, impregnate every soul. Preach, write.
Press agent for God.
God needs publicity. So well known that people have forgotten his name. I'm here to remind you that his promise still stands. Guarantee of eternal life.
It's sealed by who?
I am only a clerk. The seal was placed in Peter's hand. I have a long journey ahead of me, and each day may be my last.
Bon voyage, Olaf Francis.
Are there any more witnesses?
Thousands of them, Ron. Thousands through the ages. But I feel there's no need to call them. The defense rests.
Very well. The defense may begin its summation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will offer summation. The implications of this testimony are plain. If you decide that the God restored the body, there is no resurrection. Our faith is in vain. Our love means you, I, and all of us stand stripped to the bone, exposed to brutal physical law. I ask for a verdict of not guilty.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the implications of this trial are indeed very plain. A body disappeared. The council would want you to believe that it was about some forms of a miracle, a pitiful attempt to obscure the truth. Many witnesses tried to refute my accusations, but the one witness who could do so was not produced. And that was the living Jesus. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I ask for a verdict of guilty as charged.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have heard the evidence. You must bear in mind that the accused is presumed wholly innocent until proven guilty beyond all reasonable doubt. The state has not produced a single eyewitness who saw the gardener steal the body, and its contention is based solely on the principle that the tomb was empty, a point on which both counsel do agree. On the other hand, the defense has not produced a witness who actually saw Jesus in the act of rising. No one saw him walking out of his grave, but they did see a man walking in the garden, on the seashore, on the road, and have firmly testified that he is the same Jesus of Nazareth who died on the cross. In the opinion of this court, this evidence is not a question of belief or disbelief. It is a question of what testimony is worth in itself. This testimony is no less valid than any other testimony given in any other trial, in any other case, and it should be seen as such. Therefore, this court instructs you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that in weighing the facts, you should not have any preference or prejudice. You should not believe any part of this testimony for the simple reason that it sounds feasible. And on the other hand, you should not disbelieve any part of it because it sounds too miraculous. Every moment of our lives is a miracle, though performed in the frame of so-called physical law. Therefore, this court instructs you, ladies and gentlemen, that you should just go ahead and make sure that you think the right way and how your heart takes you. Why was the tomb empty on the third day? That is the question that needs to be asked. And in this seek for knowledge, for the answer, no one can help you. For man is created to labor on the truth and come to his own conclusions. Only deep reflection can guide you to a just verdict. It is a good day for reflection. It is Easter morning. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you considered your verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
Please deliver it to the court.